Hello, welcome to the Peter Spy Show, episode 0. My name is Chris.
And I'm James.
And we are pleased to announce this new podcast venture. How are you feeling, James?
I'm good, Chris. About you?
Yeah, nervous, excited.
Yeah. Don't really know what we're doing, but
this is going to be amateur as fuck, basically.
Yeah. We're sat with Chris's phone on some DVD cases with a pillow behind it sat on the sofa. So we'll see how it goes.
I mean, low budget.
Yeah. If the quality is shit, then apologies for that. But
just blame Apple's microphones.
Yeah.
You can blame my DVDs.
Yeah. If you keep watching, we'll keep listening. We'll eventually get a budget. Then we can get some actual microphones.
But that'll probably be in about 9 years, 9 months, and 9 days.
Yeah. We'll see.
We'll have to see, won't we? That. So people are probably wondering what the Peter Spy Show is. It's a bit of a strange sort of amalgamation of a few things, really. Things in my life, and then also things I've brought to the workplace that we both work where we both met. What's your your involvement in the Peter Spy Show was also last year as well. How would you describe the Peter Spy Show?
There was in a sort of in its baby form. It started as a bit of a joke, didn't it? And that there were more people involved then. But then you mentioned it for a while that you wanted to do something more like this, and then we were sat in the car outside, and you said, "What are we doing?" Well, might as well. So here we are. This I guess is a bit of an introduction, some FAQs, shall we say? So,
well, this is the genesis, really. This is like how we kind of came about this idea, as well as what we actually want to do with it going forward as well. The Peter Spy Show, like James was saying, it was made up as a joke. We were both honoured to go the place where we work. There was like an awards show up in Glasgow, and we were honoured to kind of be part of that. And we'd be driving up with our manager Martin at the time, and obviously Dom, another DM, Ali. And we knew because what Martin loves music, and he's getting a bit of a shout out here, but he does love music, and we knew that we'll probably have playlists going up there because it's a long journey from West Yorkshire all the way up to the Glens of Scotland. So we all made a playlist. We all gave the idea to Martin, but what we did in terms of that is I thought we'd do a sort of semi-radio show in terms of a sneak sort of prank joke sort of thing for Martin, from not to know anything what was going on. We didn't even tell our department manager either what was going to happen, and I'll put in the links in terms of what we actually create in the actual description.
Most of it will make zero sense to anybody except like the 6 people involved, but that's not the point.
I mean, a lot of it is just in jokes. I mean, constant in jokes from people that weren't even in the team at the time anyway, but because we've been together for a few years, we all had these little in jokes, little interludes, I suppose, like advertisements that are for nothing really. And we had a bit of fun, we had a bit of blast for it, and that's where the idea came from. I thought, I've always liked music, and we'll go into that a bit further a bit later in the episode, but it was a case of us using something that we did for fun into maybe making it into something that we can share with everyone else and make it more of a community sort of basis as well. And that's kind of what the Peter Spy Show is going to be. It's going to be a loosely formatted sort of venture where we will discuss music, we'll talk about what's happening in the news, we'll talk about what we're listening to, and we'll also we'll shed some spotlight on artists or some of our favourite artists that either don't get enough seconds in the limelight, and don't actually get enough sort of promotion compared to the sort of more elite artists, the more zeitgeist of the time than they do. I mean, what do you want to bring to the Peter Spy Show?
Yeah, I think we're gonna have we're gonna have like a loose format, aren't we, about what we talk about each episode, however often they are. But I think we can sort of go off on any tangents if we need to do. It's not just going to be we're not sticking to a script each episode. We're just talking about whatever shit we want to talk about, really, aren't we? So
Well, we're not going to be super serious. I mean, I'm probably going to come out with some really weird things that I'll end up saying, and then we'll probably go in a tangent.
can edit them out. Can edit them out.
Nah, we won't edit them out. We'll keep them in there because, you know, I'm a bit crazy sometimes with some of the things I do say, and that kind of leads on really to who is Peter Spice.
Who is Peter Spice?
Well, again, from the depths, the abyss of my own mind, this is what Peter Spice is. I have a friend named Jamie. I was at his house with my other best friend Jeff. There, Jamie's mum asked me what my name was. This is many, many years ago, and for whatever reason, I called myself Peter Spice.
Peter Spice.
That's how Peter Spice happened. It's
You
a
are-
bit of a strange thing,
That is Peter Spice.
but what's kind of gone from that has always been like a bit of an in-joke with my friends back in Harrogate, but also Jamie's brother Joey is always known me as Peter Spice, and it's quite a funny thing that, you know, whenever he sees me, he'll call me Petey. You know, even though my name's not that, my name's Chris. But you know, he knows my name, but it's just been the case. And then what I did was I kind of brought that into the sort of, I don't know, the forefront at work, where I kept changing my Facebook name to Peter Spice, and everyone was wondering who Peter Spice
But
was.
there are a lot of people out there who know of Peter Spice, but have no idea what it, and so they can refer back to this now. That is.
Well, I mean, I used to use it as if someone wanted, if I was talking to someone I didn't particularly like them, I'll say, yeah, my name's Peter Spice. And, you know, most of the time, I would say like a 50% success rate that they would believe my name was Peter Spice. I mean, I don't know why.
I'd believe it. You look like a...
Well, I mean, if I look like a Peter Spice, I don't know what a Peter Spice looks like. Just me, then.
That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
You've got a drawer full of fit passports upstairs with Peter Spice on it.
Well, yeah, only for Nigeria and the African sort of continent, really. You know, blood diamonds. You know, they've got to move them somehow. I mean, that's not what we're going to be talking about, but it's true though. Yeah, they have got to be moved at some point. You know,
There'll be a segment every week on
on
your movements there. Yeah.
on the quantity that I've moved and the you know, the fabrication of money that I've got. Yeah.
But yeah, so that's the name, the origin of Peter Spice, and then we just thought, stick it on there.
Well, we thought
It's a good
because
name.
we kind of created the show in a way, in a weird way as a radio
Yeah,
show.
Yeah, just keep it going.
Yeah, I mean, I generally thought of an idea of, like, you know, for us to do some sort of Alan Partridge type thing, but we're not Steve Coogan. Let's just be honest. You know, who is Steve Coogan? I mean, Steve Coogan, but who is Steve Coogan?
I have some acting experience, musicals and the like.
All right, and which musicals were these then?
You got Our House, the Madness musical. That was in Greece. That's about it. But
And what were your parts in these?
Dancer,
Dancer.
uncredited.
So
Grease Lightning.
the whole musical part of it, the music part.
I was
the
singing.
musical.
I was singing.
Oh, okay, so just
in
a backup
in a chorus
dancer.
of people. In a chorus of people.
The chorus people.
Singing and dancing at the same time.
So you were a symphony then.
Yeah, baggy trousers. Our House.
Could you give us a rendition?
Maybe later.
Maybe later.
Wings of a Dove. That was one of my favourite dances, actually.
How did that go?
But there's not. Okay. It's
I mean, for audio listeners, they're not going to hear that.
that's why you need to get on Twitch. That's what you need.
We
Everyone can see my
we
dancing
use Dom's idea,
Yeah.
and we'll go on get a video of this, and so he can.
Just so people can see the Wings of a Dove dance
And a cushion
and a cushion
laid on some
and
DVDs.
some DVD cases. Yeah.
But hey, we've got to try something. We're not gonna shut out a budget. What if this collapses? What if this is the only episode? It's not even number one. It's a 0.
Yeah, we could have kept the receipts. It'd be fine.
Okay, fair enough. Then we could just returned whatever the return policy was.
So my next FAQ.
Next FA.
We've established who is Peter Spice. Who are we? We've mentioned already. Who are we? Who are you?
Who am I?
Who are you?
Well, my name's Chris. Surprisingly, and again, not Peter Spice, but you can call me Peter Spice. I don't mind. I'm used to it now. Yeah, so I born in Leeds, lived most of my life in Harrogate. Now back to Leeds because of where we work, and yeah, I did various jobs. I used to work at HMV, which is what a lot of my music sort of background and what we'll go through a bit later on has come from. But yeah, just Yorkshire lad. Very proud to be from Yorkshire. I don't really know much else. I'm not really. I like sport. I like other games, films, movies. Well, films are movies, so it doesn't really matter with that in a way.
Like a single film and a single movie. That's it.
Yeah. So, what defines film and movie? Are they both one and the same? Probably. And obviously, music as well, being a big part in my life. In terms of that. Now, who are you?
I'm James. You can't call me Peter Spice, unfortunately.
You can call him J-Dubs.
Yeah,
he really likes J-Dubs.
Yeah, really like that. Yeah, I mean, me and Chris have known each other for what, about 2 years or so now.
Roughly.
Yeah, when I started working at undisclosed location at banking
at the Blood Diamond location.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean from Leeds as well. And I guess when we did first meet, we just sort of clicked talking about music, but like other shit as well, really, isn't it? So yeah. I guess that's why on this we just want to. It will be mainly music stuff, but there's other shit we'll talk about because there's the stuff that we're interested in, really. So it'll be based on that, really. I'm younger than Chris. So Chris has listened to music for longer than I have as well, but similar interests.
That doesn't make me any more of an expert.
Probably a bit, but we'll see. So yeah, and you'll discover more as we go along, I guess.
Yeah, I guess you will find insights of who we are and that. Yeah, much like James said, we're not gonna. We may end up changing how we actually do this sort of podcast. It's kind of a evolving thing. Who knows if we make it to episode 52 in a year's time, it might be because something completely different.
Are we committing to 1 a week there?
Well, we should try. I think if we want to kind of get this off the ground, I think breaching from 0 to 1. I know it's a big leap. It's like jumping across buildings.
Yeah.
Superheroes have got to do it in their train. Remember Kick-Ass?
Yeah. Once we get that sorted, it'll be.
Once we get the green latex suit,
piece of piss from there,
a baton.
Yeah.
And we find New York style rooftops to jump across. Then we can do that, can't we?
Yeah.
But until then, we can't. So we're just gonna have to. Just keep the faith. Have faith, like George Michael would once say, or Limp Bizkit even when Limp Bizkit remixed it.
That's a good track.
That's a great track. That really got me into Limp Bizkit. But then that's gonna be a whole different.
That's an episode by itself. That is. But then I think through I guess each week there's again certain stuff we're going to talk about, but we'll probably try to get some other people on. We've got mates who music wise similar to us, and so I think we're going to try to get other people on maybe time to time.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be
52 episodes of just us talking to each other might get a bit stale. You need to mix it up sometimes a little bit dirty. So
a sprinkle friends.
Yeah.
We'll see kind of what happens with that. But yeah, definitely. I've got a couple people lined up in my head that I would love in the next sort of couple of months maybe if we do keep going this. That I would love to have on here. Whether you're unavailable, whatever. Again, if I'm not available, you can grab someone that you know as well. So it's going to be kind of like a community, like I was trying to say before. I want this to be a community where we can have discussions about music and introduce people to different sort of styles as well. Because a lot of the time, which again we'll probably have a lot of topics going through future episodes, but it'll be a case of there's so much music to listen to, and we both got very like a Venn diagram. We're very similar in the middle, but then we do branch out a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I would say both of us are very happy to try different types of music and different types of artists, anyway. I think that's what I would like to advocate and make, people who say they love music actually really do try it. I'm not saying that we're the gatekeepers of everything, and I'm not saying that what we say is final and is exactly what should be the case. I feel like here's a suggestion: if you like this, you may like this, and that's kind of like the sort of vibe we want to give, rather than, oh, you should listen to this because you like metal. Metal is everything.
I think in general, when we talk about stuff, we're going to try to, as much as possible, talk about as much as broad a thing as we can. We might lean one way more than another because we listen to some music more than others, but we're hopefully not going to completely not talk about some stuff and just talk about other stuff. It's just in general, isn't it, really? So
yeah, I mean, because a lot of people that know me and have known me for a while, they'll know me as the hip hop guy. I listen to a lot of hip hop, which is true. I would say probably 80 to 90% of my music sort of consumption is hip hop. It's because that's just what I gravitate towards. But don't get me wrong, I love a lot of different types of genres as well. And the playlists that we create, going forward and stuff that we will say that we'll listen to, not just say it, we actually will listen to them, will be a wide range, a broad range of what we actually want to kind of showcase and what we actually want to expose ourselves to as well. I mean, that's what we're saying, expose ourselves, but you know what, you get the drift. We're not going to actually strip naked to the music, to the streaming platform and go, give me music.
There's no cameras, so
that's true. Actually, you could just do it. You could just dance naked, couldn't you? Really, just put it on some. If you've got Alexa or you got some sort of other speakers, you could just dance naked.
Yeah, man. Why not?
Whatever floats your boat. Yeah. We're not going to judge. We're not here to judge. We haven't got a gavel, so.
But then I guess so on this first episode, whatever it is, if it is an episode or if it's an
origin story.
I'm
titling this as Genesis, like Phil Collins.
All right, okay, Genesis. On this Genesis episode, I guess we're going to talk a bit about what music, important musical moments, from our lives so far, and then do you want to go through now what we're going to be doing on episodes going forward? So
the
format.
The format's really what should have been the first part of it. Who cares?
Yeah, but
we said it's a loose format.
We're calling an hour in. It's fine if people
are still listening to us after 15 minutes. Well, you deserve a medal. You deserve a medal from us just rambling on for just saying who we are.
Send your PayPal details. We'll
stumbling across some obstacles. That's what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
So the format we want, which you will listen to hopefully back to back from this, is just a case of us telling you what we're listening to, what we've been enjoying from week to week, and what will happen with that is each playlist will be songs that we've really liked or we're playing quite a lot on these playlists, and it's not restricted to preferably be newer music, but it's not restricted to has it come out in the past week. No, it's a case of what have you been listening to throughout the if it's came out in January but you've only come across it now, that sort of thing. So that's how I want it to be, and then for us to tackle any maybe news articles that I feel like is maybe worth mentioning, and then that can be a broad range from any genre, any sort of trivial thing. We probably won't talk about Kanye West, but I'll say that, and we probably will end up talking about Kanye West, but I'll try and avoid that as much as possible.
That's what I thought this podcast were about.
Well, once we become born again Christians, maybe we'll be the born again Peter Spice show.
Once he converts me.
Once once someone gives me the blood and the
body and blood.
You
don't have to be offended anybody on this. It's
yeah, sorry.
Stay on with it.
Then
I guess I think as well with what we're talking about, even though we're not doing just new releases and stuff, I think we're going to try record on a Friday, so then at least we've got, if anything came out the week before, we've had a week to listen to it and stuff like that. So probably try to get it out over the weekend at some point then. We can't be able to that because we're only starting out, aren't we? But we're going to try to do that kind of thing. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, exactly. And then I think once we started talking about new releases and things that are happening that day and maybe what we've listened to previous week, what we want to do is, much like I said in the first part of it, is talk about artists that, you know, we've been fans of either for years, or a fairly new artist that is just starting, that we really think has got a lot of potential. Things like that, we will dedicate like a little segment at the end of it, and really basically just recommend listening to this person, why we think this artist is really good, or you know, I've got an artist in mind for the actual episode 1 that we want to record, and it'd be just a case of this is the reason why I like this artist. This is their album that I think is their best album. I think it's the most accessible album. You know, this is who they're a bit like, and then again there'll be a link, you know, I'm sure on our sort of post as well as in the description for it as well. And I think that's what I wanted to do, you know, consistently is give people insight of what, you know, who these other artists are, because I listen to so much all the time throughout each year that sometimes even those favorite artists is really, really hard to actually get to their album.
Yeah, and as well, it's not even just like completely unknown people. It's, you know, like we listen to shit that, you know, that I've listened to that you haven't listened to, another way around, stuff like that. So it's not just, you know, just people that no one's ever heard of. It's just maybe stuff that you might have got around listening to, things like that. So yeah, so we're going to try to do that each week, I think, as well, aren't we?
Yeah, almost like a pet project each week.
It just means that I can go research stuff now, aren't I? So
well, yeah, if we're going to have any sort of followers or anything like that. I mean, I had the idea of, and again, we've been spitball on this here on an episode, but I had an idea of, you know, but like, you know, you get book club and, you know, you listen to a book. We kind of still book, audiobook. You read a book, obviously, and then discuss it a week after or a month after. And I think maybe something that down the line we can start doing that, where if we get more than one person, or maybe more than that actually, but maybe more than one person actually.
I'll find one person, just us, all three of us.
We get them on. Yeah. We find where they are. If they live in, you know, in Blood Diamond Country,
and then we have 0 listeners, because then, you know, we've just got three co-hosts and no listeners.
I mean, yeah, I suppose, but it might just spread the artists.
Yeah,
you know,
that's not a sustainable model, I don't think.
Well, we could do, but yeah, like I say, you know, if we would like to do something like that, where it is album of the month, listen to it, and then maybe we discuss it on a podcast episode, or we do it in a different sort of format, maybe Twitch, Dom, but probably not. But something like that, though, where I was thinking that'd be a really good idea, and I think us also talking about, like, not just artists that we like, you know, new releases, news, and what we've been listening to. It's stuff like if we've gone to a gig or we're going to a gig, you know, we will discuss, you know, how the gig was, you know, what they'll listen to, things like that. And keep it almost as music based as possible, because that's the whole point of the movie.
I think it's just like whatever's been going on. I'm just going about that really, aren't we? Some weeks will be more than others. We'll have gigs one week and not the other week, and talk about that. And so it'll be. I
mean, granted, we're doing this at the end of the year.
We're doing this at the end of the year, so episode 2 will be our album of the year list, which is great.
Which will probably be the case, or like maybe either 3 or 4, but
yeah.
Which makes it a bit easier. But I suppose we get our feet sort of wet. Is it?
I think that's. I don't know.
Is that right? Is that the right phrase?
It could be, possibly. I think it is. I mean, dipping your toes in, aren't you?
Well, that probably sounds better, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, get your feet wet. Do you want trench foot?
Testing the water.
Do you want? Okay, testing the water, not trench foot.
So the album of the month this month is the Let's Coldplay release, whatever the fuck that's called. Double album, I think it is.
I think it's called Double Album.
That's it. Coldplay's double album. It's double album. It's like
Hot Stop.
It's like 55 minutes long, I think, as well. It's double.
It's double album with 55 minutes.
I'm fairly sure it is. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, Chris Martin, mate.
To be honest, right, there was a double album that came out. Who was it? Well, to be fair, Nick Cave's not that long either. That's technically a double album. But there is like one of the tracks on the second side is, I think, like 10 minutes long or something.
Okay, fair. So it actually came out on my birthday, the Coldplay one as well. So happy birthday, James.
See, this wasn't like U2, where U2 just basically had everyone's iTunes account have their album in. Do you remember that?
Yeah. What
What was it called again?
I didn't have a. I don't think I actually had anything that it went on. It was when like Apple Music like first came out, and they were just like.
No, because it was an iTunes thing.
It was an iTunes thing.
Because like everyone had it because it was like a free album, but everyone had it on their iTunes.
The fuck was it called?
And
Dog shit, wasn't it?
I mean, I didn't listen to it. I just deleted it off my iTunes, like first thing. I mean, obviously they've got a legacy, and they're obviously important to a point in music. Not preferably my sort of cup of tea, but
Songs of Innocence. There you go.
I mean, they were innocent. They basically, I don't know, what was it? They buried their way into everyone's iTunes account.
Yeah, there you go.
And that's not really.
I agree to this.
We don't like that.
Thanks, Bono.
Yeah.
But anyway, the main point of this episode, after this rambling introduction thing, we're going to go through, some. We'll pick 16.
I picked 16 songs.
Why 16? Is that
no, I just. Well, I had 15 because that sounded better, and then I just.
Then there was another one you wanted to do. That's fair enough. And it's what? It's songs that have.
So what it is, and you'll see it in playlists, and obviously it'd be really weird because it'd be a combination of both our sort of songs, but it's basically it's either artists or singles from maybe that album that you really liked from a certain artist, for example, and it's I don't know, it's basically for me it's my music taste, where how it's kind of evolved in a way. And how I kind of really started. I mean, I didn't really put a song that when I first listened to music, and this is what I first ever listened to, and I mean, it's quite. I mean, I will go through into it in a second, but that's not what I put on there. I put on songs that I've stuck with me since I was since I really got into music, which is probably about 13, 14, maybe a bit or maybe older than that, but 13, 14, and then it stuck with me. I've always had in the back of my mind and stuff like that.
Yeah, I guess like my rule is it's the same thing when I was thinking about it. It's like, songs that I don't listen to as much anymore, but except for when I first started listening to music, that were kind of main things in either getting me to listen to a certain type or changing what I listen to. My general rule was that though even though I might not listen to them, I still think they are still listenable songs. Like there are other songs that I did think of that I could not listen to now because they're shit songs. Yeah, like you look back and think, what the fuck? Like I don't know, Black Veil Brides will give us. I say that. I couldn't seriously sit down and listen to a Black Veil Brides song now. But for like every song on that I've got here, I could probably sit down and still think. I understand.
Yeah, I've been banging my 16 songs all week, and I'm like just completely reminiscing. I'm like, it's just weird what music does to you sometimes, but. I just found it such an insight of like, it's crazy how my music taste has just kind of just gone all over the place really, and I mean it would be thanks to when we go through to it, it'd be thanks to HMV really when I worked there for 9 years, but that's kind of what these songs will be, and although it won't really represent that on the playlist for what ours are, we can always put that in a separate post from what our actual songs are, but that's kind of how it is, and I don't know if do you want to start this off?
No, I can do. Yeah, let's go. So, I've got some honourable mentions in there as well.
I see.
Which I feel like I'm going to add them. I feel like I'm going to add them at the end because there was some bits where it was like, we'll edit that bit out. There are some bits where, it kind of moments where I'd picked songs for, but there were multiple artists that could fit that, multiple songs that could fit that, but I didn't see the point in having the same thing twice. It would just take up space for other things. So I have some honorable mentions in there that could have been
okay, cool. I do that,
kind of subbed in at any time. To be fair, I've not actually got a playlist, so I've just got a list on my phone, so that's probably why. But we'll see. Okay, so starting off, so the first kind of music I listened to was like from my parents, who were kind of pretty big. Kind of like my dad's quite big into like mod and that kind of stuff. So I was kind of thinking like the Jam maybe. Had some of the Who in there. I've gone for Blondie though. So I've got Blondie, one way or another. Not the One Direction cover, Blondie one.
You sure?
Pretty sure. I was torn between the two.
Well, you just said you're a lot younger than me, so I don't know.
I've got to make sure. I'm not much younger than me. Don't worry about it. So. Yeah, and my honourable mentions were the Jam. I was thinking Eating Rifles. I think it's probably my favourite Jam song. The Who were my generation as well. But yeah, I've gone Blondie one way or another. Which on Parallel Lines, which is
brilliant album.
Probably I think Blondie's best album. So yeah, that's more. Not as much into Blondie myself, but a lot of listening to that when I were younger, because my mum and dad kind of listened to it, because they don't really listen to any music like after the early 90s. I think probably Oasis, Stone Roses is the most recent stuff that they consistently play.
Wow, so like late 90s.
Yeah, so so I've gone Blondie. Then the first albums I ever bought was, I think it's from CX or pre-owned. I think I got Nirvana, I got Foo Fighters' Greatest Hits, one album, and I did get a Linkin Park album, but I can't remember what it was. I think it was the one. It's like a dark cover. I can't remember the fuck it's called.
Meteora?
Yeah, it was that one.
That wasn't that too bad, to be honest, Meteora.
Yeah, I liked it when I first.
But it wanted just like this. It was just very similar.
It was
less good.
I couldn't tell you. I couldn't differentiate any songs on that album from the others because they are the exact same. But anyway,
yeah.
So I've gone for Nirvana, About a Girl from the first album. I think it was the first song I learned on bass as well.
Oh, okay.
I was thinking Foo Fighters Pretender, but that's didn't go for that. I went for Nirvana instead.
You went for the cooler option.
Yeah, of course.
Right.
Then high school, when I first started properly getting into music, I was, kind of quite like kind of metal stuff. I don't want to say emo stuff, but I guess you could call it that. So I've gone for a few there. I've gone Iron Maiden, Number of the Beast. I just think that's still a great album. I've gone actually Enter Shikari, arguing with Thermometers, because I actually still I think Enter Shikari is still actually pretty sick. Great live as well.
I know I got a weird, I don't know. Enter Shikari has always been one of those bands where I never really got it. Because it came out, they came out when I was in HMV, obviously. So, it was just, I get what Enter Shikari is, but then I just never really gelled with it.
Yeah, I guess my thing as well is that like, because they do have a lot of like electronic stuff in there, but like when I was listening to it at the time, and a lot of people who listened to it that I were mates with, it were like you'd listen to it because it were heavy shit, and you'd fucking hate all this other, electronic shit. Then you listen to Shikari, which is the same thing pretty much. But and then I've also gone My Chemical Romance. I was really torn between what song to go for, but I think I'm gonna go Thank You for the Venom from the second album.
Okay.
I still think Welcome to the Black Parade is like one of the best albums that decade. I think it's a fucking great album.
I mean that's the thing with My Chemical Romance for me. Again, it's like Enter Shikari. I just don't think I ever got it at the time, and I think when we go through my sort of part of it, I think I was past that sort of phase anyway.
Yeah, possibly. I think that maybe some of it is I don't know, a nostalgia thing because I listened to it back then. But I still think nothing to get a bad rap Enter Shikari. Then I guess like started kind of towards the end of high school kind of thing, started listening to more music and moving away from that, that one genre, shall we say. So I've got some Bowie in there. Eventually went with Oh You Pretty Things from whatever that album is.
Pretty Things.
It's the one with Changes on there as well. I can't remember what the album's called, but yeah, gone for that one. I put some Smiths in there as well. It's maybe a bit mainstream, but went How Soon Is Now, and then Arctic Monkeys as well. And I was pretty hard to decide on that song as well. I think I've gone for When the Sun Goes Down in the End from the first album, but there's like probably 4 others that I could have put in there. Like year 10, 11, James was, big into Arctic Monkeys.
Who isn't there? I mean,
that's true.
We won't talk about the last album, but
what last album?
They're pretty consistent there.
Yeah, and I think I don't know. It's
because that's because Arctic Monkeys is crazy because I mean it's not on my playlist, but their first album was like the biggest album that came out when I started working at HMV.
Yeah, it felt like a debut album as well. I think at the time it was massive.
It was the only album we were allowed to have where it had a bit of swearing on to play on the actual sort of playlist and on the speakers. So yeah, it's an album that's very much stuck in my mind. They've always been stuck in my mind since then.
And then the back end of it, because that's kind of halfway. So I guess that's up to like kind of end of high school. So then for like college and up to now through uni and stuff, I've got a Wolf Alice song in there. I've put Bros in, but caveat is that they re-released it. I'm gonna go for the first one that they brought out before they re-released it.
The OG version.
Yeah. That's mainly as well because like me and my girlfriend are big into Wolf Alice, especially kind of in college. So that holds a special place in my heart.
Again, it's a band that I never actually listened to. No. I remember someone when I used to go KGB, someone really liked Wolf Alice. I just never bothered. I just never got round to it.
Yeah. But we've been. I think it's one of those where we've been listening to them for a good, 6 or whatever years now as well, and we've seen them like loads of times.
Yeah.
Fun story. The first time us two ever went abroad together, went to Frankfurt, which is fucking shit. There's fuck all in Frankfurt. Do not go to Frankfurt.
Frank Dirt.
Yeah. To see Wolf Alice. That was the only reason we went. It was on Valentine's Day. We got there. Then they had to go to the Grammys, so they pulled the cancelled the gig. So we were just fucking stuck in Frankfurt for like 4 days, and there was fucking nothing to do there.
Frank Dirt.
Yeah. So don't go to Frankfurt. But the main attraction was they've got like a lift that just keeps going around all the time. That's the main attraction. There's a lift in Frankfurt. That's the main attraction. You can Google that if you want. But
What do you mean it goes around all the time?
So it doesn't just go up and down. It's like constantly. It's like on a
wheel.
Almost, yeah. But it's a lift. Never stops.
No,
that's the main thing.
How do you get on and off then?
And we didn't ever see it. You jump off. We didn't ever see that.
Oh right, I see.
We couldn't find it. We didn't see it. So yeah, don't go to Frankfurt.
Then
this was GCSEs Year 11. The song that got me through. Well, not the song. The Grimes album Visions. I banned that album.
Great album.
So I've gone for Genesis off that. Channel Orange as well around then. So I've gone for Pyramids, Frank Ocean. And then I guess I started listening to then when I probably end of high school, starting into college, I started listening to more hip hop and rap and stuff like that. I've got put a Kendrick song on there.
That shows the age gap, I think.
Yeah, probably.
When it's like go through to my
Are we thinking Mad City? I've gone Swimming Pools off Mad City.
Good single though.
Between
really
Swimming
good
Pools
single.
and Mad City, but I think I've gone Swimming Pools. I've actually put a JME track on there as well. I've gone for Game. I really like that Integrity album.
Oh, that's an underrated album.
I listened to that a lot actually when it came out, so I've gone for Game from that. And then I've just chucked some more recent stuff in there as well. Actually, thinking about it, Tame Impala is all I listened a lot to, so I put a Tame Impala on there.
Shout out to Matt there, because Matt's a...
Oh, go on play fourth. I've gone for Feels Like We Only Go Backwards as well, because I think Lonerism is still my favourite Tame Impala album, I think.
That's the second one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is the best album.
Yeah. And then I've just thrown some more recent ones on there as well. So some of my favourite albums from last year, I've gone for a SZA song. I put Garden on there. That SZA album was, I thought,
yeah, Control's
sick.
Awesome, yeah.
And then I put a Tyler song on there as well, because I've got to do on there. So...
I mean, you are currently wearing a Tyler.
I am, yeah. That's true. That's true. Probably that's every week. So I've gone for Boredom. And that's maybe the best single off Flower Boy.
An album I still need to revisit.
Yeah. I'll just quickly run through my shout-outs as well. So my honourable mention. So I had go Foo Fighters. My Number by Foals. Because that were, like...
Which album was that off?
Off of Holy Fire, I think.
Oh, see, I didn't listen to Holy Fire as much. Because like Total Life Forever was like my jam.
Yeah. Because like Mr. Brightside is like the typical party thing and like club thing.
Yeah.
That when that came out, when I started going out, that were kind of that song. Like every fucking club night, that song were on. Put a Refuse song on there as well, because when I was listening to kind of post-hardcore stuff, that Shape Punk to Come album, I listened to that a lot. So I couldn't pick a specific song because I listened to it for like fucking 5 years, but just that album in general.
Yeah.
You listen to Let Live?
Let Live, no.
Kind of like post-hardcore band, no. There was an album they had called Fake History about 2012 or some shit.
What history was fake?
I can't really remember. It's been too long since I've listened to it.
Okay, fair enough.
I was going to throw a Skepta song on there, but I thought I've got Jamie on there, so...
You're representing Boy Better Know.
Yeah. And Gorillaz as well, because when I was like 10, I used to listen to Demon Days like all the fucking time.
Demon Days is brilliant.
Yeah. So
that's the one with Doom's on there, isn't he?
Is
that one to Doom, or was that the second one?
Also,
November.
I was 10 one. That might be Demon Days. I couldn't.
I feel like it is. Maybe it's not. What was the second one? What's the first one called? It's Gorillaz.
Just Gorillaz, I think.
Yeah, it was on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there you go. So those are my 16.
Plus
just
extras.
To recap, we'll run through. So you got Blondie, Nirvana, My Chemical Romance, Iron Maiden, and Shikari, Bowie, Smiths, Arctic Monkeys, Wolf Alice, Grimes, Frank Ocean, Kendrick, Jamie Scissor, Tame Impala, and Tyler. And then the honourable mentions.
Awesome, man. A good wide range, which I expected.
An array, a myriad.
A myriad, yeah, that's a good word, myriad.
I guess.
For me, it's, I mean, what I've got here is not actually in chronological order, but in terms of myself, there is more newer stuff than not. I mean, the thing is with my list, I'm kind of going through like what I can remember back when I really started getting into music, and that was so like for me when I first started. My first kind of memory of music was really radio, and it was actually Coldplay. Funny enough, speaking about Coldplay, it was Coldplay's. You know, when Yellow.
We're almost gonna put X and Y. I think that's actually Speed of Sound.
Why? I almost put
not a bad album.
I almost put Coldplay's Yellow on there because Yellow is a song that all even Spiders like that. That first album, Parachute, is incredible, and with that though, I was going to put them. I was going to put these other artists as well. I had a long think about it. I went, well, although these are sort of the moments I was really started listening to music, there weren't pivotal moments where I kind of like wanted to keep make sure I want to know what the new and next best thing was. Like going from in the 90s, because that's how old I am. Where Spice Girls, Spice Girls, Britney Spears, they were like the big artists at the time, and Britney Spears, I didn't put that on my list, surprisingly.
It's Britney, bitch.
But well, no, it was "Hit Me Baby One More Time." It wasn't that Britney yet. It wasn't Crazy Britney yet. That was the big single when I was in year 7, and then that was really kind of it. I wasn't never really fully invested in music. I would remember recording like the top 40 on cassettes, again showing my age, and stuff like that, and that's really how I knew music. It was like that's how I did my own sort of, was it now 25, whatever they're called, whatever number they're on now 70,000. So that's kind of how my introduction to music was, and it wasn't until we kind of got, I think we must have got Sky or something, and I started watching MTV2. I don't know what MTV2 is like now because I've never watched MTV for a while, but I started getting into sort of the rise of these sort of, what are they called, new metal bands, and that was the music that really kind of I had an affinity for, and the first band I really really liked, and then again it's also the first album I remember ever buying. I mean, I could be wrong, but what I remember buying is Stained. Although people have mixed reactions to Stained, I can understand.
You still got the album?
Yeah, I think I've got the album somewhere in my
there we go.
In my collection of CDs upstairs. I still have the album, Break the Cycle. That was probably a very influential album at the time, and yeah, it's not like the most uplifting album, but I mean, it just resonated with me at that time, and that was when I kind of was getting into like things like Nickelback as well. But I chose a song Outside, with, speaking of Limp Bizkit before, with Fred Durst coming in on the live version, and I didn't realise until when I was actually listening back to it and actually looking a little bit further into that song, is that Aaron Lewis, the main singer from Stained, has only started demoing the actual song recently, before he did that live, but not a full album version wasn't even recorded, and most of the lyrics at that time are just off the top of his head during that live performance. I thought that's it's incredible to think about that, because he's quoted somewhere saying that I don't even know what most of the meaning is, because it was just there at the time, and I just went with it. And obviously Fred Durst comes in a bit later on, and I don't know why I always laugh at it, but he says like, I'm really feeling those lighters. For some reason that makes me laugh every single time.
So bad.
I'm really feeling those lighters. And okay, cool, awesome. So yeah, I chose that as like that's probably one of the most seminal songs for me, because that's what I really remember when I started really getting into music. And whilst I was listening to things like Puddle of Mud, Disturbed, all those sort of bands, I started, at the same time, Linkin Park was coming around. And obviously, rest in peace, Chester. But, Linkin Park, Hybrid Theory, probably one of the classics of my generation. I think of any generation. I think it's a timeless classic where it's not just for that moment in time, because new metal's a bit strange, really, but it really it's just throughout the ages it's never sort of. I think you could listen to that now as a brand new listener to never listen to any of the music and still really vibe with it and still get with it. That's what I think a classic is. If you can listen to it from a completely different era and it still works, then that's what happens. And obviously a lot of old music is like that as well. But I actually chose a strange version, which is almost linked to The Outside, by Staind, is the Reanimation album, where they did a few remixes, got some hip hop artists on there as well. But I chose Crawling, but their version of Crawling on Reanimation with Aaron Lewis, who also sings on there as well. And I quite like that version. I didn't want to put a traditional sort of in Linkin Park, so I want to put a little bit of a different one there, kind of spice it up a little bit. During that time as well, with school, I remember friends like Ellie, Rich. I wasn't necessarily friends with Freighter, but we got on. But around that sort of time is when they were listening to things like Radiohead, and all these sort of alternative / indie bands, I suppose, at the time. And Common Police is a song that I've always had that in my mind for a long time. That's one of the reasons why I started to like Radiohead, was because of that song. And I remember the reason why I chose it, not because it's a great song, but it's also because it just reminds me of school. It reminds me of when when I used to have when you speak to these friends, we used to hang out all the time and just discuss a bit about music, every so often. And that gone to the point of The Coral. Again, both bands, almost all, most of these artists I still follow, really. But The Coral, Dreaming of You, great pop indie sort of song, very catchy, but also just a bit of harmonizing there. I just loved the style of it. I loved their sort of, their videos always been like 60s sort of psychedelics, bit of influence there, but then they weren't. I really liked that sort of style. And then the album was really good. Although I can barely remember the album there. I have to go back. I have to revisit that album.
It had that song on it anyway.
Yeah, that song was brilliant. And then that came on to the point of The Strokes, and an obvious single, Last Night. Okay. And I remember going between sort of, our sixth form was joint with another school, and I remember listening to The Strokes going back and forth, even like things like Libertines back then as well. And obviously they just came on the scene, and again, a really cool video they had. I think it was like a 50s, 60s sort of influence as well on the video.
Yeah,
and
that was big on MTV.
Yeah, when MTV was big.
MTV Rocks, that's what it is now. It's probably still on this with
really.
But
yeah, I think that's a phenomenal song. I think it's just a really cool song with that. Then it goes again. It's still the same time period, really, and we go Jimmy Eat World, Bleed American, or from the album Bleed American in the US, or from the album Jimmy Eat World here in the UK.
Okay.
And I can't remember how I got into Jimmy Eat World, because it wasn't anyone that I knew. Of what I can remember, got me into them. But that angst, talking about, that's, I suppose because I was a teenager at the time, that teenage angst in America, that sort of pressure and isolation and what you expect, all that sort of stuff. It all involved Bleed American. I think that's why I really got into it. And I think because it was like very, well, that song in particular, I suppose, is very similar to what I was still listening to before with new metal. It kind of was that great transition period where I was like, okay, well, they have obviously a lot more softer songs as well, especially on that album. But I also really liked the fact that they had this sort of very energetic, sort of, not screaming, but like the really emotional sort of, choruses that really resonated through me as well. Then I suppose, a lot of my influence is from school. and it's always stuck with me. And it was, I suppose, the Beatles. I mean, quite obvious choice, I suppose. The Beatles put "Nowhere Man" off my favorite album, Rubbing Salt. No, what's it called? Rubber Soul. Well, Rubbing Soul then. I don't know what that is.
That one, Rubbing Salts. Yeah,
they are Rubbing Salts. No, Rubber Soul, one of my favourite albums. I don't know why it's my favourite album, but I've always really liked the sort of layout of it all, and I like all the songs. But Nowhere Man's, again, I think it's just an interesting song. You know, how all the lyrics are and everything like that. And I think I really, I've always kind of, you know, appreciated that they're, you know, Beatles sort of, how their influence is, and whether you like them or not, you got to appreciate their sort of stamp on musical history, I suppose. And I know a lot of people that really hate the Beatles, and it's like, well, I get it, but you know, they probably influenced most of your artists, to be honest. Even in a bad way.
I think you can love to hate them, can't you? If you don't like them, you don't like them. But you sort of got to appreciate at least, haven't you?
Yeah, definitely. And then it comes to like still in school time. This is all like
this. So we've gone year 7. We've got 2 songs from year 7, 2 songs from.
It's throughout school basically.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
my best friend Liam, I remember him having. This is where like the hip hop sort of influence starts happening. Obviously at the time you have Eminem's dropping, you know, Slim Shady, and then obviously Marshall Mathers. You have Dr. Dre dropping Chronic 2001, and I remember Liam getting DMX album called The Great Depression, and Who We Be. I remember seeing the video because it's such a stop-starty sort of flow, and it's kind of really embodies what X is all about. But also, there's a lot more sort of complexity in sort of what he's saying as well in that song. And that song's always really kind of stuck with me, and that's how I really got into DMX, and that's kind of was my transition period to hip hop. Just near enough. It was like pre when I was initiated. So when I was initiated, which I've not put any track on here, I'll do a shout out like you did. Is 50 Cent's Get Rich or Die Trying. That was when my mum bought that for me randomly, literally randomly. I came home from school and said, "Oh, I've heard about this guy," and then gave me this album. And then that, funnily enough, that became like one of my favorite albums. It's a classic album in hip hop anyway. But it's weird how that's the album that drove me into like being obsessed with hip hop, completely obsessed with hip hop, and that's where we kind of go a bit further past school now. Because with DMX and my best friend Jeff, like that's hit that X 50 Cent. That's how we became really good friends, and we've been, you know, great friends ever since. And he put me on to a guy called Joe Budden. I'm sure you've heard me say about Joe Budden a bazillion times.
Joe Budden, no, don't. Not ringing any bells there.
Big fan of Joe Budden. Whether you like him or hate him as a person, I think he's made some great music, and he's, you know, put me through quite a lot. And I've chosen the track "Walk With Me," which is, you know, a great track in itself, because he's talking about, you know, literally take a walk with me through, like, you know, my daily life, you know, how I feel, you know, are these friends my friends, you know, that sort of almost paranoia throughout the streets, but also with him as well, you know. And I think it's really good insight of what people could be like, you know, through these sort of, you know, these neighborhoods, or through, well, just in general life. You could apply it to general life, and that's what I really liked about that song. And that's when I started really getting into more hip hop now, and it's like Nas, listening to Illmatic for the very first time, probably many years after it came out. One of my favourite albums of all time. Nas, my favourite rapper of all time. And I put on New York State of Mind, a seminal track, again talking about the streets of New York, and this amazing production, I think is by DJ Premier, I'm pretty sure it is. And just phenomenal. And at the time when he did that, he was 16, 17 or something like that, really young. Might even just been 18, and it's just fresh off his incredible verse from Live at the Barbecue, Main Source, which again I started listening to that as well, and started going back from the 80s all the way back to present day. And again, it just showcases why people put Nas in such a high esteem, because, you know, although people will say that that's the album that defines him, he has made some great albums after it. I think it's just, unfortunately, the bar was set so high to start off with. It's very difficult to kind of, you know, maintain that throughout the entire time. And then, like, this is where the HMV sort of side of things, I'm being influenced by people at HMV. So I was at HMV for 9 years, and throughout that time period, a lot of people have influenced me in different ways. Whether it's like, again, this is one of the reasons why I was thinking about this show, was because people don't necessarily know everything. You know, they can't know every bit of music. Even if you could say you love hip hop, but do you really know? Like, if you ever listened to anything in the 80s or the 90s, probably not. Most people, you know, younger people these days, their hip hop is probably, all to them is, well, I don't know, all to you maybe, but from 2000 to 2010 it's probably fairly old, you know. And then obviously like this past decade is probably the newest sort of stuff. Whereas I went all the way back when I started listening to hip hop, and because I really want to understand how it came from and how it kind of evolved. And that's when I started, you know, start getting into Wu-Tang Clan. That's because of Jeff as well, I probably would say, during college. And I put Cream, or CREAM,
for its proper title.
For its proper title.
Thank you.
And obviously, you know, it boggles my mind when you look at the history of like music, and you look at Wu-Tang Clan specifically, where back then, that was, you know, although that's probably a very radio friendly song anyway, but you look at the album, a lot of the tracks on the album that like Bring the Ruckus, like how that would never play on the radio now, but it was such seminal sort of seminal singles, and the album's incredible. And I became obsessed with Wu-Tang Clan. I mean, obsessed. I literally have a sort of silver box over there. That's all the Wu-Tang albums in there, and pretty much all their solo albums in CDs.
That's the secret one. You've got it.
No, unfortunately, I don't. I wish I did. So I just became obsessed with Wu-Tang Clan, and I think rightly so. That they've been more often than not consistent. And I think when you look at like artists like Ghostface Killah, Raekwon, they are, you know, especially Ghostface Killah. I don't think he's probably had maybe one solo album which is not particularly amazing. Other than that, they're all great, and it's amazing how they were able to have like a group album. There's so many different sort of personalities in there. And then it came to my friend Bango at HMV, and he got me into Doom. He was the main person who got me into Doom. Told me to listen to this Madvillain album by this producer called Madlib, this rapper called Doom, or MF Doom at the time, I suppose. And one of my favorite albums of all time. You know, it's just incredible production. It's just rhymes that are just so, I don't know, I can't really explain how Doom rhymes. Doom rhymes very like peculiar, but he's almost straight to the point, but then he has this sort of, you know, his own sort of style and sort of his own sort of vocabulary to kind of incorporate that, and it just sounds different. And because of his sort of gruff voice, and he has this like personality that he does always when he performs, wearing a metal mask all the time. He actually does embody the Doom sort of persona. And I chose All Caps mainly because I love the beat. And I remember last year or year before, the Abstract Orchestra. Do you remember?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they did their they did Madvillainy, which is the album, all as orchestra, and
the full
thing. Yeah, and I got All Caps as a recorded video, which was just incredible. And I sent that to Banco as well, because I thought, well, I had to put that on there. I had to make sure I recorded that particular song, because it's just, I don't know, that beat is just, I don't know what it is. It's just something, the horns, whether the drum goes in, it's, I don't know, just crazy. So from Doom with Bango as well was a guy called A$AP Rock, not to be confused, which has been confused by A$AP Rocky. I mean,
not the same.
Not the same. I mean, he literally is ebony and ivory, as one is black, one is white. So they are very similar, very dissimilar. But the names are obviously, yeah, I think, if I remember correctly, I think A$AP Rocky was a little bit influenced by A$AP Rock, but I don't quote me on that. There was a great moment in, I think it was Rock the Bells many, many years ago. A DJ from Hot 97 filmed A$AP Rock meeting A$AP Rocky. It was an incredible moment in hip hop history, but that's just going obviously beside the fact.
Iconic.
Yeah, so going with A$AP Rock, I chose a track called Daylight. I remember at the time, speaking about Bango again, is he had this he had Bazooka Tooth A$AP Rock's. I suppose it's technically his third album. I think it's second on Def Jux at the time, and I remember him playing that to me and him on this sort of crazy sort of way of rapping with all this words almost. Like this extensive vocabulary that just really, really hammered you, and this way of him rhyming and using sort of really odd sentences, but to kind of, you know, explain what he's actually trying to represent at the same time. Although people would say he's very, very riddly and maybe quite hard to kind of understand, I'm exactly the same anyway. Like, for whatever reason, I really, really like his music because it is so different, and it is a case of you have to keep thinking about what he's saying and what are these array of words, these sentences, what is he trying to mean through them. And it makes, I won't say it makes it fun, but it makes it in terms of like, you really got to think and keep listening to it, because luckily for me, like I like the way he raps. I like the music beats he chooses to rap over, and I think Daylight is one of those sort of tracks where it was launched him into the sort of quote unquote sort of mainstream, but I suppose the underground version of mainstream, and everyone kind of knew who he was, and he really, really made his mark with that. I think because it's such a more of an accessible track, and I think that's one of the reasons why I think, you know, he's lasted so long, because he got such a massive fan base from Def Jux, and Def Jux being a sort of label that was run by a guy called LP, which I know a lot of people know about these days through Run the Jewels, and it really he really made his mark. And I think Daylight, you know, if you want to kind of have a really sort of a different opinion on hip hop, a different take on it, is listen to that track and really trying to understand it. I think I remember when I worked at HMV that we had to do these like influence, you know, like these are like posters, and you know that have a picture of ourselves, and they had to choose lyrics, that.
Hi, my name's Chris.
Yeah, it's like Chris Stockroom Control or whatever it was, and then it was like some lyric, and I had to take a picture of where I was at the time back in Knaresborough, and yeah, and I chose lyrics from actually that track actually, so I can't remember exactly. I'm not gonna rap them right now. I can't remember them off the top of my head, but I chose those lyrics, and I remember like a guy called Trevor was like, "What the hell is this?" And I'm like, "Well, just keep reading it, you understand it." I mean, I'm not saying like I'm well verbose and I know exactly what he's saying in every sort of lyric, but that's why one of the things why I like hip hop, because it can be so flexible with sort of language, and sometimes you've got to really, really kind of dig a bit deeper in terms of what some lyrics are saying on the surface, and I know that's one of the artists that I I really, really do sort of like and appreciate. And then going back after that, again with Bango's influence, is kind of Nick Cave. And Nick Cave, again, is a very similar sort of artist, maybe not to the extent of A$AP Rock. Again, he's not hip-hop, but this sort of, this rock sort of, I wouldn't say heavy rock when he first started. It was quite, hardcore, quote-unquote hardcore. It wasn't hardcore, but he was like pretty out there.
Yeah.
And his lyrics were pretty, extravagant and vibrant in terms of his delivery, and I think that's one of the reasons why I really started getting into him. And I remember when I think it was Grinder Man 2 was coming out, and that's when I really, really got into him, because that was when they were just doing sort of raw sort of, I think he was even said they were just making up at the spot, even from the sort of instrumentation to like the lyrical sort of side of things as well. And you can tell, like, especially on Grinder Man 2, it's not everyone's favourite album from Nick Cave and Bad Seeds, but I do really, really like it. I think it's a really, really cool, very raw album. I've not chosen a track from there. I've chosen a track much later in the sort of, I wouldn't say softer sort of period of Nick Cave, but the more mellowed out sort of ambient, atmospheric sort of style of Nick Cave, and chose Push the Sky Away, which I was honoured to see him live last year or year before, where it was an incredible performance seeing him live, and that track especially as well. It's just, I don't know, it's just a really, really great song of just trying to push things away and just get on with things, and I really, 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 really like that sort of song. And I think, have I got one more track left here? I've lost track. I've literally lost track.
You got that one. You got that one.
Oh yeah. So I've got Fleet Foxes next, and that's during my time with HMV. we play so much music, when it's new music and when music is being sort of, critically sort of received, we were kind of fortunate to put it on a sort of playlists, a six disc track changer. And I remember Fleet Foxes being out for their first album, and I started getting into it. It was kind of brilliant harmonizing. It reminded me of, like, I don't know, it's kind of folky sort of Beach Boys, Beatles-esque in it, really. Like, it's like a folk take on that because of the way they harmonized everything. And again, I think also because of the vivid sort of vibrant lyrics that Robin Pecknold wrote and delivered, I think it's what drove me to liking Fleet Foxes and understanding everything like that. And I chose the 8 minute and 7 seconds opus, to be precise, the Shrine / the Argument on Helplessness Blues. Again, a phenomenal second album, probably my favorite album of the now 3, I suppose, that they've released. And it's just the 3 sort of transition periods of this, him adoring this person, having an argument, maybe not ever getting back together, things like that. All those sort of different sort of lyrical sort of moments he has in there, and the great wailing sounds, the whale mating sounds that is at the end of the song. I mean, that's not the reason why you should listen to it, but it's. Yeah. I mean, I remember seeing that live, and that was just it was a weird moment seeing that live. I think it was at O2 Academy in Leeds, and it was a special moment because obviously I like pretty much all the song. Sometimes I've got to be in a mood to hear that last part of it, or I can't be bothered changing the track. But it's not because it's a really bad moment. It's just a very awkward moment to kind of get your head around sometimes. If you're just walking about and hear, it's kind of like this, cool jazz moment, but I suppose it's not at the same time. I don't know. I think I like it still. It's just it's I suppose 98% of the track is what I like the most.
Yeah.
And again, I've just become such a huge fan. Obviously, Crack Up came out a year or two ago now, and that was my album of the year that year, because I think I was just craving something from Fleet Foxes, and they actually delivered. And I had to wait a long time. I know I'll have to wait another long time for the next album, but hopefully not too soon. I think I heard rumours they've got a new album out next year, so that's going to be interesting to see what that'll sound like. And then we have the last track. The last track is the oldest track. Yeah, last track is the oldest track.
Probably, yeah.
But so technically it really should be the first track I talk about, but it's not. It's from and I'll emphasis the, I will put that in block capitals, in size 72 font, the greatest film of all time. The greatest film of all time.
Undisputed
champion. It's, if you can give 11 out of 10, I'll give it 11 out of 10. Though it doesn't work out, it could be 11 out of 10, but that's a maths thing. We're not, algebraic assholes, are we? So
we'll let it off.
Okay. From Transformers, the animated movie. Yeah. That film is influenced me a long time, to the point where I watched that film so many times when it was in a video, VHS, that I wore out the VHS so much that I had to wait when I was in my 20s to get then where it came out on DVD, and watched it a lot. I didn't break the DVD, luckily. And now I have it several times on Blu-ray. Aside the fact, there's an awesome, very 80s influenced soundtrack. Some instrumentation by Vince DiCola, who did, I think, Rocky 3 score. He's on there as well. The track I'm talking about, though, on here will be The Touch by Stan Bush. The single, and I suppose if you don't really know any other songs from the album or from the soundtrack, that's going to be the one track, and it's just, I don't know, a lot of nostalgia, like you said before, a lot of nostalgia. It's I don't know, it's just like just moments in the film. It reminds me of that. It's a track I can listen to, and even the soundtrack I can listen to every day easily. I got it on vinyl. I love it, and I think it's just a big 80s power ballad. But it's all good though. You want something like that. It's a bit of a different sort of track that that people probably won't know or be aware of, unless they're me and grew up in the 80s, I suppose. But yeah, I mean, that is pretty much. That's how I end it. I end it on from the greatest film of all time. Maybe it's the greatest movie song of all time. That's another topic.
That's up for debate. Yeah.
That is up for mass debate. But yeah, I think that's pretty much my list. I think like both of us, I think we've got a very broad range of how we've grown up. I never had any siblings or parents that really influenced me. I was more of a sponge of music. In each stage of my life, I've tried to understand and a little bit more, and that's kind of how I've got to. These songs are kind of stuck with me, and even though some are fairly recent, I suppose there's a lot where the older songs have stuck with me for a long time now, and I can easily listen to any of those songs, and I've been playing to death my 16 songs for the past week while we've been sorting out the time to record this episode. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That's we've got to the end, James. We've made it.
So the songs there, if anybody has an urge to listen to them, I think we're going to get a few playlists together, probably like Apple Music, probably figure something out on Spotify as well. And then, you can see what you think, can't you?
Yeah, and I think if anyone somehow has made it over I think it's over an hour now we've been talking.
A quarter, something like that. So a while.
Man, time flies when you're having fun. Yeah, if anyone wants to actually discuss that, we'll have socials up. We'll have Facebook. We'll have Instagram. We'll have Twitter. We'd love to hear anyone's sort of opinion really on what what music made them really, I suppose, and maybe we have crossovers, and maybe we can have discussions of throughout the week until the next episode, or who knows.
Yeah. So if you do want to, we've got Twitter, which is @PeterSpiceShow. We've got the Instagram, which is The Peter Spice Show. We're going to try get probably a YouTube channel sorted as well, get this on YouTube, so, name pending on that one.
Probably.
That's not up yet. Probably some iteration of the Peter Spice Show.
Peter
Pice Show. But, links to everything there would be, when we get the Twitter.
The Pied Piper Show.
Yeah. Links will be on there. And then, we'll try to get this up on, I think probably Apple Music and Spotify, and try link the playlists as well to it.
And what I say, I think for the first episode or episodes, it may take a little bit longer to go on Apple, because it take a little bit longer for it to process. So it'll probably be on Spotify. So you're probably hearing this first on Spotify, maybe before anything else,
or on YouTube if you don't have Spotify. You can get it on YouTube and that.
Yeah, I think it's any sort of more parting words.
See you on the next episode.
See you on the next episode. If we somehow have,
it will be coming. See you on the next one.
See you next episode. Peace out.
Peace.
A-Town down.